Oh, Paul, yesterday was a day on the internet, and
Good day.
I can't believe like what happened. Like Paul and I are sitting there chatting, and then just out of nowhere, Microsoft announces that they're bringing next gen game streaming to old gen consoles, and it's going to extend the life of the Xbox One. It's an art.
I don't even know what to say. Great.
Yeah, this was
Uh,
buried in a blog post. I don't think it's all that crazy, but like you're going to be able to play, apparently, according to them, Flight Sim, which is a next gen exclusive game, but through game
oh, through
streaming or
game stream.
XCloud.
Okay, right. Okay, then actually, by the way, that's pretty cool,
It's a
right?
smart idea.
They are putting Xbox Series X into the data. Why the hell are we talking about this?
Paul, I'm just pointing out that
Yeah,
Microsoft, like their
no,
Xbox
that's
stuff.
cool. And by the way,
Yeah,
please point me to that blog post. I will write that up.
yeah.
I
Well,
just want to
they
say,
very conveniently buried it in a thing like here's 27 games or something coming to Game Pass, which is fine. Like I don't have a problem with the blog post, but that's a really big deal that Microsoft just said, if you can't buy a next gen console, don't worry about it. Like you can just stream this stuff. Just sign up for Game Pass because that's what we
I
want.
sitting on my desktop right now. Um, I have a document titled "The Death of the Console," and I didn't even know about what you just said, but this is, I mean, that plays into it, right? Um,
Is the hero image of that Old Yeller,
I don't have one yet, but that's a good,
or
maybe
just
that's
like, or just take a screenshot of that and Photoshop out the dog and just put an X.
just
Anyways,
a guy, like the silhouette of a man standing in a barn door open with a gun in his hand, you know. It's like a horror movie poster, really, when you think about it. Okay, that's fascinating, actually. Not the most fascinating thing that happened yesterday. I'm curious that you led with that. I just as a matter of perspective, the last 2 weeks for me
mm-hmm.
professionally have been some of the worst times I've ever had. I mean, that's not truly fair because in the last year that I was at Penton, the whole place was falling apart, and that was really hard to kind of go through. But it's been bad, and we've had the spam attack stuff going on. You know, Brad has actually been helpful, but I feel like I've kind of been dealing with this by myself. You know, and then of course we finally got attacked in a really major way, and that got some other people involved, and it's still not really over, right? But we've put some stuff in place,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and of course I got the stress of this travel coming up, and and yesterday was a good day.
Yeah,
I'll say it that way. It's the type of day I haven't had in a long time. You know,
yeah.
there are minor examples of
I
it when Windows 10 was kind of coming around.
yeah.
There are even more minor examples. You know, Windows 7, Windows 8. Um, the best times really were the earliest days of the long run stuff when it seemed like Microsoft was going to do it again, and that didn't happen. But you know, in the context of 2021, we are where we are. Microsoft has ignored this $10 billion a quarter business for several years, to my consternation, and I'm sure to the consternation of
Mm-hmm.
many people who are listening to this or watching this. And then the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, this thing matters. We should probably, I don't know, do you want to throw a can of paint at it or something?" Um,
Just walked in with a can of spray paint, like.
yeah, right. They tagged it. So, and look, we'll discuss it. We can debate it. I go through the comments now. It's very clear a lot of people are very upset about this, which is entertaining. Some people are delighted by it, and that's, of course,
Mm-hmm.
anything graphical, you know, or whatever is subjective, whether it's attractive or useful or not. But I couldn't be happier, Brad.
Yeah,
Not
and
because I love it, although you know it's fine. There's a lot of missing things, which is weird, and it's one of those things. The more you use it, the more you're like, oh my God, where's that? You know, I used to right click here and something happened, and now
mm-hmm.
there's nothing there.
Yeah,
Whatever.
especially on the taskbar.
Yes. Yes. For example, one of the things you can't do right now, or at least I didn't find it, is the ability to make the taskbar smaller. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. You know, it's just not a big deal. Like I'm not saying this thing is screwed because they're not doing that. I don't actually use that feature normally,
Mm-hmm.
but in this system, the taskbar is actually quite a lot bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's too big. So, can we make that smaller? No, we can't. Will that change? Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, getting ahead of myself. My point here only is this: whether you like this or hate it or whatever, you have to admit it's exciting that anything is happening, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That they poked
Right?
the bear. They walked in. They said, "We're going to change something," and they did.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
there's, I'm really proud of this tweet. Yesterday, like I was just tweeting various things about Windows 11. Like some people obviously were negative to it. And I said, look, if Twitter would have designed Windows 11, it would have looked like Google Workspace. Like that.
It's a good point. And there was a what was that, College Humor, whatever that site was, did this, I think this dates back to Windows 7. It was a long time ago, but it was, Microsoft was running ads at the time. I designed Windows, whatever Windows it was. I designed
Windows 7 was my idea.
Yeah, Windows 7 was my idea. And then they show this contraption at the end where it's got like, it's a robot with all these arms and all, it's a disaster. It's like the monster at the end of the thing, a combination of all these parts that doesn't make any sense together as a cohesive whole. And that is what something would look like if you let everyone have a say.
Mm-hmm.
Not every question is a good question. Not every idea is a good idea. And, sometimes I think that's part of the reason I'm so happy about what happened yesterday, or what's happening with this product. Not because I agree with it, although I think I'm going to be okay with it,
Yeah.
But rather because Microsoft has painted itself into a corner where they have over 1 billion people using something. Every single one of them has a different opinion about what should look like, how it should work, where things should be, blah, blah, blah. Why did you move my cheese? And they're just plowing ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just have to do that, There are questions about whether you're going to be able to go back to the old UI. I know there's some registry stuff I guess you can do, to make that happen, et cetera. Who knows? The Microsoft of today is so different from years past when they used to offer the old start menu when they moved to a new start menu. And, you can't even wrap your head around how different the company is now. So we can't really say with surety what they're going to do. But again, they're making changes to a product that they have ignored for years. And I'm so glad.
Yeah.
It's
fun.
I've been begging for this. Not for this exactly,
Well,
what I
right,
mean, but this level of attention.
I will point out, and this is a very important thing to point out, I can tell you with absolute certainty that the build that leaked yesterday is missing UI components that are available to people who are actually building it is dated from what we will see. Microsoft has been experimenting with additional things, so people who are going to look at this and be like, this is it. Like, I'm not expecting dramatically different, but there's a lot more polish that is coming to the OS that is not available to what leaked. So,
okay, that's good. And I, obviously, having thought about this for a long time. In other words, we know Microsoft's doing a Sun Valley thing. They're going to refresh the UX.
Mm-hmm.
So these questions naturally arrive. Well, okay, does that mean they're going to get rid of all the Windows 95 icons that are still buried in there? Are they going to get rid of the legacy UIs, like Control Panel and MMC?
Nope.
And if you think about this stuff logically, they can't get rid of that stuff, right?
Nope.
You can't have the compatibility. It's sort of an implicit compatibility pledge that Microsoft has, and you can't drop stuff like that. It would break things, right? So the question at this point becomes, well, there's, I just got to bring up the menu to look at it. There are tools like Device Manager, Event Viewer, Disk Management is a really good one. Task Manager has been touched, so that's okay. These are legacy UIs that really need to be replaced by modern UIs. And I suspect that a lot of the things I just mentioned, there are bits and pieces of it. If you go into settings, there are some disk management features, right, that weren't there when Windows 10 first shipped 6 years ago. And then over time, most people are going to find those modern UIs. Power users, IT administrators will know about the old stuff, maybe be familiar with it and still want to use it, and it's still there and it's fine. Like, I think we need to just get to the point where we're okay with this, because people keep bringing this stuff up. Like, somehow it's in like this abomination that Control Panel exists in here. Listen, I don't think anyone uses Windows more than I do, or whatever, but I use Windows every single day, and I don't, the fact that it's in there doesn't impact me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think about it. I don't ever see it. I can, start typing and, oh, yeah, there it is. It is there. It's there. But who cares? I mean, what is the benefit of Microsoft turning Control Panel into a modern app or something? Or I guess, or just getting rid of it. Like, how does that really impact you, as a user?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just the old Windows.
So what do you think? So we have, it's obviously the 10X UI, right? I mean, okay, fine. And when we saw the 10X UI months ago, whenever that was, a year ago, I don't know, however long ago that was, it's hard not to look at this and think, okay, well, are they going to bring this to Windows?
Yep.
And at the time I was like, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, why would you build a UI like this and not put it everywhere? And you could argue full Windows 10, maybe you need a switch somewhere you can go back to the old UI. That's fine. But what do you now? First of all, what did you do with this? Are you using this on a computer? Did you put it in a VM or?
It's in a VM right now, mostly because I downloaded it and installed it on my podcast editing box, and I can't move that over until until at least the fall when they launch it officially.
Yeah,
I think it's fine. I mean,
I think it's fine too.
The one thing I really want is actually the start menu icon to be in the middle of all of my open things, and I'm sure hopefully somebody will come up maybe with like a Stardock thing, whatever, that will just pin that there. I think that would make me more happy, but I think the thing
that would be better than that, sorry to interrupt, is just putting it over in the left corner. Just separate it, because one of the just visually is kind of an aesthetic thing, unless it's going to change, which by the way it might. We still have over on the far, I guess for you it's over on the far right, the traditional system tray stuff that's been there since Windows 95, and it takes up space, and it makes the centered taskbar not appear to be centered, right? It looks like my sunroom, it's off, and not that a single start button would fix that, but it would just give that kind of visual notion that there's something on the left, there's something in the middle, and there's something on the right. And
you can put the start. Well, you can put the start button all the way in the left. Like there is that option, but then all the icons drag over. Like you can't.
That's right. But I don't want that. I actually, and people are like, well, you're adding as icons appear, the positions of these things are changing, and it's ruining your muscle memory, right? Guys, I would just point you to a little operating system you may have heard of called Mac OS 10. That's now called Mac OS, and it's always been like this. So that system shipped 20 years ago this year, 20 years. And it has 100 and something million users, hundreds of millions of users, whatever the number is. And you don't see a lot of Mac utilities designed at making everything switch over to the left, that's just not a problem. So I think Microsoft making the option because Windows users are used to that is smart. And that harkens back to that thing I was talking about, respecting the past a little bit. But I like this. I like the way it looks. I've used utilities to make this happen.
I need to actually see how Taskbar X works with it, because that would give. That's what I do on my PCs. Is I have the start button all the way on the left, the icon centered like a dock per se, and then it's that balanced look like that you're just talking about. But I don't know if it works with 11 yet. So,
what do you think about the Live Tiles controversy, I'll call it?
Those things died a long time ago. People just didn't want to admit it. I mean,
yep, yeah, I agree. Yeah, unfortunately, then this is the problem with the Windows platform is the 1.3 billion, whatever the number is, and every single one of them has a different opinion about what should look like, how it should work, and and of course we're in a kind of a enthusiast community here, so people are going to be very vocal about this stuff. But there are people out there who want the touch stuff to be better and more like Windows 8. There are people out there who want Live Tiles. I saw that widgets thing and I thought, my God, this is. Are they going to put like Live Tiles on the desktop, or is there going to be a site? And then it opens up that stupid news and interest thing, and I'm like, widgets, okay.
Which you can't even. Which, by the way, I was hoping maybe you could drag one of those to the desktop, so it would. Nope.
No. And by the way, you lose the only thing that I liked about that feature, which was the temperature and weather.
It's not there.
It's gone. I don't know. Look, I for the way that I use Windows, and maybe this is the problem, because I like one of those 1.3 billion people have my own way of doing things. I pin icons to the taskbar for the apps I use every single day and use most often. And if I need something else, I'll open the start menu and start typing the beginning of the name, and it appears in start search, and I run it, and that's fine. And so the start menu in many ways doesn't even need to be there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't change much. Like it's rounded
Yeah.
corner window corners. They look different, and I think that helps it feel a little more modern. But I feel like I don't know. Like, what's the difference? Like, it's not a big deal to me. It makes existing windows look a little weird. I mean, frankly, in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
But it's day to day, just using it. Honestly,
It's fine.
it's the apps haven't changed, right? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to change existing apps. I mean, of course. I mean, one of the things we should look forward to is what changes they make to the inbox apps, right? Mail,
Yep.
calendar. We'll see. That stuff's not in here. It's not
Nope.
available.
One of the best features, though, at least for me, is when you hover your mouse over the maximize button, it puts up the like snapping UI, and you can pick like where you want to snap the app. Like that's a really little thing that is actually quite nice. Once you see that, you're like, why isn't this? I mean, snapping has existed in Windows for years, but
Discoverable, right?
yeah, discoverable. That's
And it's a big concern with a lot of user interface, not just with Windows, but we'll stick to Windows. I mean, Windows 8 infamously, they did a usability study because people couldn't figure out. Remember, we forget this now, but when Windows 8 first came out, there was no start button on the taskbar.
Yep.
And of course, it launched into this full screen start screen, experience. And there were corner UIs and edge UIs that were just you'd have to figure them out, And so during the beta process, they created a little video that they played during the out of box experience that would explain those UIs. You see this on Android phones all the time. They talk about how gestures work,
Mm-hmm.
And what they discovered was that helped people understand that there were these UIs and they could use them. And then Steven Sinofsky said, "Yeah, I don't care. We're not doing it." And Snap is a great feature. It's the type of thing where if people discover it, they may actually use it. It's a little different than, say, I gotta bring it up just to look at it. Like task, what do you call it?
Power Toys.
View,
Oh.
which used to have timeline in it. By the way, that's gone. And then it has this virtual desktop feature, which is still there. But that stuff was all very, it was undiscoverable, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would never popped up something and say, "Hey, by the way."
Yeah.
Well, I guess they had an icon in the taskbar. Maybe that's neat. I don't know. Anyway, I agree with you. That's a neat little touch. I hope there's a few more little things like that. I think that's good. That's just smart. Like that's nice.
So we're about 8 days away, something like that, from Microsoft officially unveiling their strategy. I mean, there's also stuff missing, like the new store experience, not included in this build. There's other things that I think are missing as well. So we kind of got to wait and see, are there going to be more builds that leak, or are we going to get, just wait until the 8 more days, and then Microsoft can reveal their master plan here for.
No, this is, must have been disappointing to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the slightly veiled criticisms I received on Twitter was someone kind of said, I feel really bad for the people that were working on this and were hoping to surprise the world. And I said, yeah, I feel bad for those 3 people too, but I feel really good for the thousands and thousands of people who've been dying to understand what Microsoft's doing, and they never communicate anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those people are more important. Sorry. And it also it almost positions people like you and I and anyone else who wrote about this as if we're some kind of villain, like, how dare you write about this or whatever. And it's like, I'm sorry, I feel like you don't understand the responsibility of the job that we have, which is literally to spend a great time and effort on this kind of thing. I mean,
right. We did not, you and I did not leak this. Like if Paul and I just said, we're not going to do this, every other publication on the planet is already doing it. And so Paul and I decided to jump off the bridge together holding hands. That's
right. And I appreciate you taking me on that journey. The water was cold, but it was fun. And, and by the way, Windows is absolutely a $40+ billion a year business or whatever. But this is not the Pentagon Papers, okay? Like they're going to reveal this next week. This wasn't something they intended to keep secret forever. I mean, And look, I like I said, 6 years. You know, it's been or however many years you want to point to. It's been a rough time for Windows enthusiasts. You'll have to excuse us for being excited.
Oh yeah,
It's exciting, you know.
they got rid of 10x. They got rid of a lot of stuff.
Got rid of a lot of stuff. Yep.
And so this is it. Like if you don't like this, yeah, I mean,
Well, maybe you'll get some good news because
yeah,
maybe in addition to the changes we haven't seen yet, and I agree with you. I think there's going to be more. Um, I there is that chance where we've already seen some things where they let you revert. You know, there might be an option. Maybe you don't want rounded window corners or something. Maybe they'll let you do that. Raphael told me very early on, looking at the code, that there is a how do I say this? Like remember in Aero when Aero came out with Windows Vista, they had Aero Basic for machines that didn't meet the graphical power required to display this glass UI, and it was really terrible looking in the beginning. And I think by Windows 7 they made like an opaque version that looked like glass, and it was okay, you know. But of course, by that point, computers could just run it. There's a similar thing in this system where if you don't have the graphical horsepower, it will just display Windows in the normal chopped off, you know, hard ed, you know, what do you call it? Like a right angle.
yeah.
And I mean, you run it in the VM and you get curved windows. I can't even imagine what kind of computer could run Windows 10 and couldn't display those
Right.
corners. It clearly works with integrated graphics. So, but that also says to me, that means this is a thing. Like, you know, obviously they're doing something to change the look of the window. It's possible if people didn't like the rounded rectangles, there could be an option, and I'm sure there'll be a third party thing if there isn't, to make it look like the old style.
Yep. There's also new OOBE or out of box experience. It's not. It's different, but it's not
It's the same steps.
different. Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah, it looks. This was. I think this was basically in the latest Windows 10X leak that we got as well. I think it's the
It's
same.
very similar. Yep.
Yeah, and of course they have to accommodate some steps that are unique to Windows 10 or 11 now, or that weren't in 10X. So, but it's, you know, you can tell they designed. And by the way, that to me tells me, because we kind of speculated when Windows 10X was coming around, like, could this, you know, come to big Windows? And I always thought it could. And when I look at the out of box experience, I mean, that's one of the things that kind of drives it home. Like, I don't think they invented that in the past few weeks or months. I think this was something they did last year or whenever, like some time ago. And I think this was always the intention, whether they were going to call it 11 or, you know, 10 or whatever. I think the intention was always that this UI is something that should scale between the two platforms.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
It's a good guess. Maybe.
Ask you a question.
I don't know what my question was now.
Oh, did you have a question? No, let me ask you a question.
Oh.
So I'm going away tomorrow, and I'm going to bring a computer, one computer, obviously. I'm only going to be gone 5-6 days. I was originally going to bring the Windows 10 on ARM HP computer, the Elite Fold, because it's next in line to be reviewed. And I was thinking that'd be kind of fun, you know. I'm going to rely on this thing. Like, how will that go? But then this happened. So I installed it on the HP Spectre 14, specifically because I wanted to see what the touch UIs were like.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm taking a risk either way. Like, which of these would you take on a trip?
Oh, I'd take the 11.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning to.
I mean, it's...
Yeah, I know. It's new.
It's different, right?
It's the newness.
It's the first time there's a different... I mean, you've had different hardware for years,
Yeah.
but this is the first time different software. It's not even different software, different UI on a software, so...
Yeah, and one of the reasons I'm leaning in that direction is I feel like today, tomorrow, Monday, something, people like Raphael or whoever will find things in there and say, "Here, if you do this, it will enable this other thing." And I kind of want to see that stuff, you know. And I feel like if I was away and, you know, I guess I could put it in a virtual machine. I don't know. I know.
Are you leave tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no podcast tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Now my flight's at 10, so we're gonna have to get out of here really early.
Yeah. Well,
we'll do one thing. Maybe Monday. Actually, it'll have to be Monday because, well, it doesn't have to be, but we fly home Tuesday. So I'll do, maybe I'll go up to the top of the hotel or out in the street somewhere. We could do a little food. Look, I'm somewhere else. So exciting.
Yeah, fortunately, you're in a similar-ish time zone, so it's not.
I believe that it's basically central.
It should be.
I'll find out when I get there for sure. I have trouble with time zone math, but I think it's an hour off.
Have you said where you're going? Because I have one story related to this city.
Mexico City, yeah.
So here's my story. I went to Mexico City. Actually, I've got a bunch of them, but not all of them are appropriate for this. I went to Mexico City for work. This is prior to doing what we're doing now. And everything went fine. We had some great food, whatever. I'm flying home. I'm in the Mexican airport, which, if I remember correctly, is beautiful. Like, it was a really neat place.
Yeah, amazing, yeah.
So I am going through security with, like, federales everywhere. Like, it's intense security, and there's their airport or whatever. And I am about to walk through the metal detector and scanner, and my phone starts ringing in my pocket. And, like, there's, like, 3 federales, and they all just look at me. And I am 23 years old, about to poop my pants in the airport, and it's ringing, and they said, "You will not answer that."
Wow. So I was gonna say,
yep,
if this was the plot of a movie,
mm-hmm.
it would have been you going through the airport, all normal, blah blah blah, a lot of quick glimpses of guys with big guns and stuff. And you're about to step through the thing, your phone rings, and you look down, and there's a text message from unknown. It says, "Don't go through the metal detector."
No. If I remember correctly, it was my friend calling me to see if I wanted to go golfing. Like, it was just nothing, whatever. Right, but the fact that you're in there, and it's like, it's airport security, and you're an international traveler, and your phone's ringing right before you walk through the metal detector, and there's guys with, like, AK-47s or whatever they had. So there you go.
Yeah.
Enjoy the tacos.
I will.